ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।
ਧੰਨ ਧੰਨ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਦੀ ਓਟ ਆਸਰਾ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਿੱਖ ਚੈਨਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਹੁੰਚੇ ਹੋਏ ਸੱਜਣ ਗੈਸਟਸ ਸਾਰੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਦੇਖ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਸਿੱਖ ਚੈਨਲ ਨੂੰ ਲਾ ਕੇ ਉਹ ਵਿਚਾਰਾ ਸੁਣ ਰਹੇ ਹਨ। Just a thank you to all those viewers who have tuned in to this week's edition of Sink or Swing, the programme that looks at the domestic life issues of Sikhs. Today on the programme we have Bibi Sukhi Kaur.
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।
We also have Bhai Butta Singh.
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।
Today we're looking at a continuation of last week's programme where we looked at clothing. We looked at the case scenario of Amanpreet Kaur. She's 13 years old. Her parents are not Amritdhari, but they are traditional. They attend the Gurdwara once or twice a week and want their children to learn more about Sikhi. Amanpreet Kaur, who's 13 years old, attends the same school as her sister, who's 11 years old. So she's in year 7, the younger sister, and the older sister is in year 10, doing her GCSEs. But she doesn't talk to her at school. The younger sister doesn't, or the older sister doesn't talk to her at school. They both walk to school together because their parents want them to look after each other. But Amanpreet's parents do not like their daughters wearing skirts for their school uniform. And they've insisted to the school that they wear trousers. This has been passed by the school. But during lunchtime, Amanpreet's sister, the younger one who's in year 7, she sees her sister wearing a short skirt above her knees without tights. What should Amanpreet's sister do? Now, last week, we looked at how the problem could be the basics of the family. That is she rebelling? Because obviously her parents have passed a clause at school that she must wear trousers, and she's wearing trousers, but when she gets there she changes. So there's some rebellion there. There can also be an issue, which maybe we all agree with, that is of peer pressure. That her friends at school are dictating the way she should look. Now, her sister, who goes to school with her, notices this. They go to the Gurdwara every week, and their parents want their children to learn about Sikhi. Is it the Gurdwara that's failing? Where are these failures coming from? Is it from home? Is it from the Gurdwara? Is it the Sangat? There's something that's happening which is not right. And these are common practices that we can all share in. Sukhi Kaur, I mean, you've been through a lot of instances in your life where you've been to school, college, university, and I think you've seen so much of this happening.
Yeah, I haven't only seen it, I've been through what probably Amanpreet has gone through. Now you're saying, oh, there's something happening. And I mean, I can only go by my experiences. And I think it's an amalgamation of all of the things that we've discussed. Now, I mean, when I was young, I remember, this relates to the same thing my dad saying to me, don't cut your hair. We're Sikhs and we do not cut our hair.
Okay.
So I used to look at my dad and say, well, Dad, why have you cut your hair? Why does Mum cut her hair? And they were like, don't ask me questions. You've been told you do not cut your hair.
We shouldn't get any third person coming to our house and saying, "Ha, thodi ladki ne ta adda si dekhya, dekhya." So keep the family reputation intact. But obviously, your questions were still there. They were valid.
Exactly. And the thing is, it's like, what is so common nowadays, and it's heartbreaking really, because I went through it, is that our parents, you know, with the best interests for their children, saying, okay, I want my child brought up into Sikhi, but where does Sikhi start? It starts at home. Absolutely. It starts with the mum and dad. If mum and dad are saying, but I don't want you to wear it, I mean, have mum and dad sat down with them and says, but these are the reasons we would prefer that you didn't wear a skirt, and we want you to wear it, or was it just ordered? that you are not to do this. Now, in cases where I've spoken to Bibi at camps, and in my own case, the more I was told not to do something without given a valid reason why, the more I rebelled. What did I do? 2 months after my dad told me that it was forbidden to cut my hair.
So basically what you're saying is that because you were told not to do it, you were curious, well, why not?
Yeah, I wanted to know what the big deal was about and why. I wanted to know why my parents were being hypocrites. I wanted to know why mum was cutting her hair, dad was cutting his hair, but I was told not to.
Okay. Just so the viewers are very clear, today's program is focusing on Amanpreet Kaur, who's 13 years old. And in light of that, we're also going to discuss about wearing dress. That she was rebelling about wearing modest dress, which her parents wanted her to wear. But there are people out there who are wearing modest dress and also not acting modestly. So within the show, we don't want to divert the questions from the case study, but we want to, in addition, explore the other side of this flip coin. That on one side, we will have these scenarios. And, you know, like you say, you've been through that experience. And, I mean, we've looked at Amanpreet's side, that she rebelled because she was told, no, you can't. But maybe there was an explanation. What about the Gurdwara? I mean, her parents were sending her to the Gurdwara to learn about Sikhi. Did they fail? Is the failure there?
I mean, from when I was younger, I mean, I'll be honest, saying this is a number that I used to find the Gurdwara boring. I never understood anything. I never understood Gurbani. I think nowadays the youth have a lot more than what I had as a child. There's Sikhi to the max, there's camps, there's a lot more explanation about Sikhi, there's a lot more knowledge being given. But I still think it could be better. I mean, you have this Sunday slot where the Gurdwara is packed out with people. It's got the youth, it's got parents, it's got the non-English speaking, the Punjabi speaking. Now, there's a flip side to this. Gurdwara have got a wide audience to cater for. Are all audiences being catered for?
Yeah. Okay, Baljeet Singh, you do a lot of work with outreach, a lot of kids at the Gurdwara. You know, people will probably come to you and ask you questions, or maybe even parents might come to you for advice. But let's look at the Gurdwara. You know, what's happening there? Why are the children not getting what they need to from there? Is it the parents' fault, or do they rely heavily on the Gurdwara? Do they send their kids to the Gurdwara and say, right, Baba hai gaya, or samjhaoga bachchiyan nu? I don't know. Maybe if you can enlighten us on those points.
Okay, I think first, trying not to be too hard-hitting on the Gurdwara, but from our experience.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like Benji said, like when we would go to Gurdwara as youngsters, there was, for myself and others that I speak to of the same age, there wasn't a lot we could go there and actually learn. So we would actually go to the Gurdwara and think we've done a great deed because we know this is something good. But so, you know, that was kind of embedded in us. We've done a good deed today, or it was never that we've gone there to learn. It was never felt as if like we go to school.
So it was like a tap on the back. Tick the box. Yeah. Mum, Dad said go Gurdwara. We've been there, and that was so. There was no expectation that I'm going there to bring something away with me, and it's going to help me with my purpose in my life. So let's have a look at these 2 points. The first point was that she might be rebelling because she's been told not to dress in this way, not to cut her hair, not to do this or that, without any explanation. The second part is maybe she's been pushed. Gurdwara jao, you'll learn everything, and then everything should be fine. And as we know, that if the expectation of Amanpreet is there, that I'm going to the Gurdwara just to Matadik, and that's all, that's fine. And let's look at the third point, where she might be failing, or where this attitude has come, where her skirt is not just the normal size skirt as the other pupils, but it's higher without her stockings or without her other clothing. Now, this attitude, is it coming from the Sangat?
I mean, it depends. Sangat is whatever is around you, really. I mean, like I said, there can be many things. It can be the people around her who are influencing her, and as an individual, we will always. I don't care what people say. Gurbani iterates this, and I can 100% say that the people you associate with, the people you hang around with, will somehow, somewhere ultimately affect the decisions that you make in life. So if you're looking at Amapreet, she is going to the Gurdwara. Has she got any friends at the Gurdwara who are giving the positive influence? Because again, we've missed a very crucial point, I feel.
Okay.
Mom and Dad are pushing responsibility to the Gurdwara. Mom and Dad are ordering Amapreet to do certain things. But where is the relationship between Mom, Dad, Amapreet and Sikhi? You see, parents have an expectation of Amapreet and Sikhi, but what about Amapreet's expectations of Mum and Dad's Sikhi?
So the family unit.
The family unit, I mean, from when I first heard this case study, the first problem always, not problem, the first area of concern would always be the family unit. Is Amapreet able to talk to Mum and Dad about why she feels the need to wear the clothes she wants to wear? Is she able to say to Mum and Dad, Mum, Dad, I really want to be a certain way, I want to be like this? And is she being shut down? Is she being explained to? Is she being spoken to?
Okay. I hear what you say. I think this is very interesting. But let me put this question to both of you. From your experience, if you have had in the past, if you had this family unit that we're suggesting, and there's an expectation to go to the Gurdwara, do you think that's still strong enough to hold back the sangat that you're getting, the influence that you're getting, the bombardment of attraction that you're getting, A, at that age, 13 years old, B, with that sangat that's happening there, with that age sangat, and C, with all your friends saying this is the right way to do it? That's, can you see there's a conflict? Is it still strong enough to hold away that Maya? I don't know. Jeet Singh, what's your thoughts?
I feel I've always been really strong on this point, and because of situations I've been through in my life, and coming from a background, a family, where maybe my father was more strict, and Mum was someone that I can go and talk to.
Same here.
Yeah, so I had that kind of upbringing of no matter what situation I was going through in my life, I knew I could take my mum as a friend, someone I can go back and talk to. So for them, there was no surprises, there was no heart attack stories, because she was there beside me. But on the same hand, I know families very closely linked to us where the children had no option to go and speak and put their situations forward.
That's terrible,
and it was so terrifying for them to talk. So instead, they were doing things behind their back. And even though they would want to speak to them, but they felt there was no option to speak to them. So they were having to do things behind their back. And eventually, as they do, people, they find out. And when they find out, it was big explosions. And to me, I always feel that it's the one utmost important thing to have your parents as friends.
You definitely.
And you spoke about Sangat and you said, is it strong enough to make a difference? If your parents become your Sangat as well as your friends, if they become your friends as well as your friends outside, they can be just as much influence as people outside.
So we're talking about taking them out, going out, maybe playing badminton with them, maybe going out with them, maybe obviously going to the Gurdwara with them, but also going to places where others would go to, but as a family.
Yeah, and I go to a certain Gurdwara on weekends, and I often see so many kids being dropped off, and literally mom, dad dropping them off and driving off home.
Yeah.
And then it's sort of like it becomes a social gathering for children. Because becoming a mother myself recently, I had the conversation with my husband, and my husband was just like, what if Jagtar never asks us a very difficult question that we can't answer? I said, well then, why is it so difficult to say to Jagtar and that, well, let's find out the answer together? I don't know. You see, as sometimes parents feel this incessant need that we must answer every question, but you have to be careful with that, because the jawab you give well, you might forget it in a week's time, but it's imprinted in your child's mind for forever. Like I was reading Bhai Butta Singh's book, and his mum told him something so when he was younger, that if you do not recite God's name, something bad will happen. I can't remember the exact, but it was like, and from a young age, he always remembered that. Now his mum probably had told him in passing.
That was a seed.
But for him,
that was implanted.
that seed was planted that I'm always going to, because he was from a Hindu faith. Bhai Ramaji was from a Hindu faith in his younger life, so he'd always be like, okay, I need to jap now, I need to recite God's name, then all the bad things will stay away from me. You see, these sort of influences, parents do have a massive influence over their children, but they probably don't realize. And like going on, I totally agree with what Baji says, and I believe that parents will have a stronger influence on outside Sangat if that relationship, that foundation is set with them, where a child is not living in fear of their parents, but can say, like, I had a very similar, I mean, you probably remember, I had a very similar experience with my sister, and I always used to say to my sister, look, we're here as your friends, I want you to talk to me, I want you to talk to me, I want you to talk to me. And eventually she came to a point where she was having difficulties in her life, that she was able to do that. And when she was going through a very difficult point in her, her adolescence that most teenagers go through, the fact that we were able to not be her enemies and be her friends meant that she was able to come through situations probably better than some, had we had not forged that relationship and drilled it into her that you do not have to fear us, that we're actually here as your friends.
Right. So, I mean, I can share those feelings with you as well, because like a pressure cooker, and there's got to be a steam valve. And for me, that was my mother. And to tell her the things I wouldn't tell anyone else was a blessing, because I knew there was someone on the other side who was listening, and who would, like a father, like God, would forgive and say, look, they were just blessed to know that you're sharing that with them and you're giving them that role. But I think this is where we need to think about what's happening in today's age, what's happening in today's society. And maybe this is where the failures are coming, that we're not giving that time. Are we meant to be housewives? Are we meant to be playing that role? If we are going to bring back the bread, bring back the money, the earnings, then how are we sharing that time? Are we justifying it to our role as mothers, to our roles as fathers? Because each of us have got different roles. You can never make a father a mother, never make the mother a father. And every one of us has got a different role. And the Guru tells us very clearly, it's the qualities of the Shabad, realizing why we're here and how we can best look after the souls that have been given to us. And in this particular scenario, we see there is a rebellious attitude. And we've looked at the parents, we've looked at the Sangat at school, we've also looked at the Gurdwara and how. So these are some solutions that maybe need to be addressed in this particular case scenario. If the Sangat have got any views on this particular case scenario of Amanpreet, who's 13 years old, and goes to school, but she ends up changing her trousers into a miniskirt, although her parents have stressed that uniform we do not want our daughter to wear, and she goes from home wearing the trousers, but when she ends up at school she changes, and we've looked at those issues. But now let's look at the other side of the coin. Let's go through a little discussion about ourselves. I mean, we're wearing bana, we're wearing the modest clothes, we've got the bana, we've got the panch kakar. But does it necessarily mean that we're modest from the heart? And I think, we're saying to Amanpreet's parents that this is the way she will be seen modest. And I think there is a truth in that as well, because it won't
Definitely.
attract certain problems that provocative clothing would. A miniskirt will, uniform might be up to the knees, but obviously if you're wearing something more provocative and it goes a couple of inches higher without the tights, then it becomes provocative.
I mean, me and Baji were just having this discussion before the show went live, and we were saying in some cases, I mean, girls genuinely, how I understood it, how I felt, how I know my sister's going through at the time, girls just sometimes genuinely want to wear nice clothes. But then what happens is, that's fine. But then if you're going to be wearing, now we're going to the provocative wear, at the same time, your intentions might be, I just want to look good. But then you've also got to think, well, who else is watching me? Now, as in a Singhani group, I've noticed that when I go out in public, when I was working before I had my baby, the Singhani group always commanded respect. I was always, no matter where I was, no matter who spoke to me, a question was always asked. I mean, I've just recently been in hospital, and I was on a ward with three like Gorian, lovely ladies they were, and they had never ever seen what I was, as they called it. They were like, "What religion are you?" I was like, "I'm a Sikh." And then they were like, well, "Okay, so what do you do?" And then they'd see like getting up doing it, and they were like, "Oh, so what does this mean? What does that mean?" And they were just like blown away by it.
I mean, did you wear the dastar and you took that route because you wanted to, or because you were born into that way of life?
I was never born into this way of life. I've been on the other side. I've wore the mini skirts. I've wore the tight revealing tops. I've been to the clubs, and it's nothing that I've hidden. It's nothing that, in one sense, I'm very ashamed of, but it's who, at the same time, I'm not, because it's what made me make this decision today. I much more enjoy the feeling of the respect that a Singhani gets than the disgusting pervy looks that I used to get wearing provocative wear. I much prefer being respected as a woman than being used as, looked at like some sort of piece of meat, or being spoken to in a very derogative way. And that was my experience. I mean, not all women will go through that. I can only say what I went through. But at first it was just like, okay, I want to wear nice clothes. And then you go one step further, you wear the nice clothes. But for me, it was never enough. So then you start cutting your hair, then you start dyeing your hair. I dyed my hair red. Then I used to buy matching shoes. Then I used to buy the big Pat Butcher earrings to match the outfit.
So you've been in the secular fashion. And obviously the religious wear that you're wearing is because it's something you have grown to love. It's something you've developed.
And I think what I learned from Sikhi is, it's not about changing yourself, it's actually embracing who you were always meant to be. Now, I don't alter my appearance in any way. Guruji doesn't allow me to alter my appearance in any way. And for once in 10 years, I can relax. I don't have to worry about straightening my hair every morning before I leave the house.
Or how you look.
I don't have to worry about getting my eyebrows done every Friday in case they start getting bushy. And these are all things that I used to stress about that were very important to me.
Where that conversation came from, like what Benji said before the show went live. See, speaking to my wife about this before we came, she said the same thing. She goes, like, when she wore clothes like that, because she actually went through that. She actually wore trousers to school and then got changed. She went through that. She did that on one occasion at school, and she said she actually didn't think that she's wearing something wrong. She didn't actually feel that. She didn't have any education behind. She had no understanding of why not to wear it. But that's why. But the parents can't give this advice, because a lot of the times they won't be able to back it up from what our guru says about it. And a lot of the times they will just say "Ke changa nahi lagda." And today, if you look, a lot of the kids won't want to listen. They won't want to hear the tradition behind it. But even if they're not religious, for some reason, if you can tell them that this is what the guru's take on it is, they'll take it that much more serious. They'll take the parents a bit more seriously, whether they take it on board or not. But as soon as they say it's a tradition, they'll just fob them off, because they're not interested in traditions anymore. But they do like to hear facts. And that's what the Bhakti was discussing last week. And, you know, towards the end of the Bhakti, the last half, it says, Man mehe chal hai vikar. Vikar means bad thoughts, you know, thoughts.
Yeah. Oh.
But on this, there's two takes on it. See, Maharaj's Bani is like an ocean, so there's two takes on it. A lot of people will think, Man mein chale vikar, that bad thoughts will only enter the person's mind who is wearing those clothes, but no, the other take on this Bhangti is you can be the one that produces those bad thoughts on other people. So you now have become the cause of producing that thought.
So you can
for that
incite.
other person.
Yeah.
You can put, so there's one way of putting it in yourself, but also you're putting that thought in other people's mind. You can't change society by saying, right, this is not what I'm thinking. I want everyone to see me as pure, but society will not see you because their judgment has already been made.
Yeah, and we're then taking on their karma as well. So as well as we think we're clear, but karke ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਮਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਮਾੜਾ ਖਿਆਲ ਪੈਦਾ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ, we will have to take on that burden too.
So what is the consequences of that karma? What are the consequences of that karma? Is it going to hurt you? Because some people will say, well, actually, I'm not bothered about them. I'm happy. Look, I feel great.
Okay, from my experience, every time, like, see, okay, I've been in that society with guys and stuff, and always remembering, like, say, if I was with a group of guys and they are, you know, calling out to girls and stuff, and, you know, and comments, and the girls getting angry. I always remember when I was growing up and not having any soji of this path of Sikhi, I always remember, you know, what right has that girl to get angry? She's decided to dress like that. Because, you know, I knew girls that did dress very modestly, and I always saw a very clear cut, and I thought, well, you know, she's decided to dress as she has. You know, I'm not saying that the girl is completely in the wrong here. I'm not trying to back up the people that are shouting out this abuse.
Causes a consequence,
so,
and you're sometimes not in control.
But I'm just saying what went through my mind at that age. You know, thinking, well, you know, how dare she get angry when she's decided to?
Yeah. Okay, Baljit Singh, we've got a call, and let's take this call. The calls have been opened. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
I'm just listening into your discussion. It's Gursev Singh calling from Derby. The lady made a really important observation that there needs to be a clear link between the family, the child, and Gurdwara in order there's a happy medium, so, you know, the kids are acknowledged on why not to wear these sort of, you know, these revealing clothing. And it's not a sort of overnight thing. I think it's going to take time. In the case of the case study which you've, you know, displayed on our screen, it's going to be a matter of time before she does, you know, lose the mini skirts for a more sort of modest clothing. But
of course,
definitely.
I think with time, you know, it can be achieved. It's just getting that happy medium between the parents, the child, and the good. And the point which you made about keeping your parents as friends, I think that's a really, really important sort of key piece of information, because, you know, they do have an influence if you can, you know, be on the right level with them, and, you know, maybe even have more of an impact than you than society would.
Yeah, 100%. And obviously it builds that trust. Virji, is there anything else you wanted to add? I think those points are very, very valid.
Yeah.
And thank you very much for your call.
Okay, thank you.
So again, I mean, just continuing that point that he's just made, I mean, I make an effort with my children to go biking with them, to go on the bike. And on the way, I might buy them an ice lol or an ice cream and take them to the park. You know, it's just about taking out your time for them, because you want to pass on this knowledge, you want to pass on this PR, you want to pass on this greatness of Sikhi. But if they don't see it in you...
Yeah, see, that's what I was listening to a Mahaprabhu doing Katha yesterday, and he was saying those times have passed when we can say, ke, you know, Khalsa ho je hunde sage. He says, bas hun Khalsa ban ke dikhao. You know, so many times, you know, you'll experience these things. You know, you see somebody bani pad ke hateya, they've come straight away from that, and they're, you know, using abusive words and stuff. That's, you know, that's not going to give them that, you know, feeling to sit there and do that same thing. Because even though, even though that person that has done that, that's not what they're learning from the Gurbani, but from not having knowledge, that's what they're going to feel.
You see,
so we have to become that person
100%.
to be able to give them that feeling of understanding, of wanting to take something from
Definitely, I just wanted to add to that as well. I mean, now if we take that now and we apply it to this family unit that we're talking about, now as sad as it is, the Asian community, the community that I grew up in, and I'm not sure if people agree with me or disagree with, but again, talking how I grew up, we've become so much more concerned with what other people are thinking about us, what other people are saying, what other people's perceptions have become of us. The family connection has almost become fake. So when a daughter or a son has a problem, it becomes sort of, we don't want to know about the problems, we want to know about the good stuff.
It all becomes, a lot of it, like these problems all becomes based on what other people are going to think. They completely forget about the issue amongst the family.
So it's like the father coming and saying, oh, my son is doing doctory parda, he's doing pharmacy, but that's good, but what's he doing while he's doing that study?
I think what happens is sometimes parents might not realize that they're doing these things. These are again things that we've experienced and witnessed recently. Absolutely. Father coming home from work and he's working that hard, doing overtime, just so he can give the kids that extra bit, give them the extras in life. He's doing all of that, coming home, and I've seen this in front of me, the kids wanting to have a conversation and talk and say, I remember asking someone, one of the kids, saying, have you spoke to your father about this yet? It was just such a little situation. I said, have you had a chance to speak to your dad? He goes, he's been a bit tired this week because of the overtime, so when he sits down at home in the evening, he doesn't really let us talk. So, he watches the TV, and then as soon as I see Galakani, he says, up. And that's it. And he says,
communication.
No communication.
But the work, apparently, is for them children, like the overtime, and he's not able to speak and communicate because of the tiredness from working for the children, but they're not allowed to have a conversation. I'm not being negative here. The reason why I've raised this is so that the awareness is there. So maybe somebody's at home doing this, not realizing. They're not doing it intentionally. They get caught up in their life.
Exactly. Everyone has the best interests. A son won't tell his father that he's got a problem of fear of stressing his dad out. Dad will work overtime to make sure his child will have everything that he never had growing up. Who's the bad person here? No one. But what's happened is all this has caused a breakdown in communication, and as soon as that happens, that's when son decides to talk to his mates instead of dad. 100%. Dad decides that, as long as I'm not hearing anything, everything's okay. There's such a massive breakdown in communication.
This reminds me of a verse in Guru Granth Sahib Ji, Maya hoye nagni jagat rahi laptai, iski seva jo kare tisi ko fir khaye. That this Maya is an illusion, and just to put it in a more secular way, you've got the Americans who have American dream. I'm sure we must have some sort of Indian dream or Sikh dream. I don't know what it is.
And the Punjabi dream.
This Punjabi dream. And this Punjabi dream may be having a koti there, having a house here, having a car once the son gets married for the son, getting the mortgage paid off for the son. We've got this Punjabi dream, and in order to do that, we're just working for that. And we're not looking at in between. By that time that happens, what damage is being done?
I mean, I was reading in a newspaper today, and this is just generally UK society, I think you might have come across it, that children actually now, in primary school, teachers are saying that children are coming to us, they don't know how to open a book, they're not potty trained. These are things that I remember when we were young. We had no PlayStations, we had no internet, we very seldomly watched TV, we interacted, we had toys, our parents had time, or our grandparents had time, whoever we were spending time with. But what they're saying is that there's become this childcare generation where mom and dad are so pressurized to work and provide, and provide. As soon as a child is old enough, he's put into childcare. Now this is just a general society base, this isn't referring to Sikh. I'm just saying there's been a study where child psychologists, teachers are saying that there is a serious lack in parenting with children that is causing a decline in society. And this is now not just across Sikhi, this is across just society in general.
But we are meant to be the Khalsa, we're meant to be the followers of the Guru who has all the answers. Now, because this is quite important, Amanpreet's situation is very, very commonplace. And let's look at the other side of this now.
Okay.
Let's have a look at, she rebelled against her parents, there's no doubt, because their parents fought for her to wear modest dress in school, and they won. But she still rebelled, she still ended up wearing
So it
clothing.
just shows the fight wasn't for her, the fight was for an argument or a belief that the parents had.
Absolutely. Okay, but now let's bring it on ourselves.
Okay.
We might wear the bana, we might wear the dress, we might even just wear the dastar only. But how different are we to Amanpreet? Because our Guru is telling us a lot of things. And we are wearing that bana, and what are we doing? Are we taking it off as soon as we, literally, or physically, or mentally, are we taking it off? You know, are we taking that bana and selling the cigarettes? Are we taking the bana into a place and selling the alcohol? Well, we're not drinking it, we're not smoking it.
I think on a Sikhi thought, I mean, this is my personal opinion because this was my journey through Sikhi. When I first took Umrat, I was very proud to wear my bana. I used to wear my bana, I used to big kurban, I love, you know, I had this. You
had the image of Guru Gobind Singh Ji Singhni, and I'm one of them.
And I'm one of those. Then I went through an experience where I met what I thought was similar, like-minded people. Now, this is my personal experience. And this will not just happen in Sikhi, it will happen across every faith, sect, belief, that not everyone is what you think they are. I mean, outwardly, these people might wear the bana, the roop, the dastar, not just a dastar, the biggest dastar you've ever seen, not just a bana, this beautiful embellished bana with crystals and everything on it, not just any kurban, but this big, beautiful kurban with this beautiful gat, and you are taken in because you will see, wow, this is Khalsa. But then, the closer you get, you might not see, well, actually, the actions are the complete opposite to what the roop is. And once I'd experienced that for myself, it made me question and look at whether I was wearing that bana, which is why you see me in a lot more suits now from when you first saw me on Sikh channel in 2009. Because to wear a bana, for me personally, comes a big head, and to wear a dastar on your head, to wear this kurban, you know, honestly, I do not feel that I'm living up to that. And every day is a constant reminder when I tired this tamala, okay, you know, stop, you know, stop having negative thoughts about people.
So it's very, very challenging.
It's very, very challenging. But the important thing is what I realized, you can end up in this very vicious circle of negativity thinking, I'm not worthy. But what you've got to do is each day try and improve yourself in one way, shape or form. I mean, this is going to be ongoing. A Sikh is that. A Sikh is a learner. You will spend the rest of your life developing spiritually, mentally, physically. But you've got to be prepared to be on this constant journey of development.
Obviously, like, just for the viewers, this isn't putting people off bana and not trusting people with like kurte and bane, but it's very important to make people and sangat you know, aware as well, that don't be, you know, fooled by it as well.
Because
you know, but as well as Maharaj says, look, there are people that, you know, the outside appearance does match to the inside appearance as well.
You might find out of 100%, 90% of people are worthy. You'll always find a few bad apple in every bunch, no matter what variety of apple you pick.
Like Benji's saying about, look, we don't want to try and get you know, completely negative, but Maharaj made us aware first. Like first they said, "Jiyahu male bahru nirmal." You know, first that's the body they gave us first, that say be aware. That they might be shining from outside, but from inside they might be male, might be polluted with, you know, doing bad things. But then in the next body, Maharaj also said they are those that, you know, jiyaho nirmal, bahru nirmal, that both match as well. But this has been happening from day one, and Guru Nanak Dev Ji made us aware of this, like they did with Sajjan Thug. Now he was, how you was that description you gave, I'm sure he looked very similar to that. He probably looked the absolute business. He took so many people in. So Guru Nanak Dev Ji made us aware of that right in the beginning, and they said to him,
Sajjan Thug.
to Sajjan Thug, and they said to Sajjan Thug, they said, when he was going to approach Maharaj, when he was plotting, to get rid of them and to kill Mardana and Guru Nanak Padshah, then Jado Guru Nanak Padshah ne Bani uchari, the first thing they said to him was, Ke Ujjal Keha Chilkana. That was speaking about these appearances. Ujjal means, like when something's radiant, when something shines. Ujjal Keha is brass. Chilkana is something shining. And so now, if we look at something, if you've got ornaments at home that are made out of brass, if you take that, look, this is amazing poetry by Maharaj too, so that we can understand more simply. And this is, if you take that, what this basically means is that brass, look how shiny it is. But this says kotim kaladi mas. Kotim means when you start rubbing it. If you look at the kapda, what's on the kapda? It's black. Kotim kaladi mas. Mas is ink. It's actually black like ink. But from outside, the more you keep shining it, the more radiant it's going to become. But for some reason, the kapda is still black. So Maharaj, this is what Maharaj said. This is teri aa halat hai Sajjana. To Sajjan Thug, that this is your state. So there's many people that are in this state, and we've had first-hand experience, as my own family has, with people wearing white jewelry. In one person in particular in our life, that fooled our family. And he was trusted and taken on like a saintly figure, but that same person, which was from India, that same person tried to con that family, break that family down, and try to split this couple up and try and marry the girl so that he could get pakka in England, but this is a person in a chola. But we got to remember and we got to be aware of these things.
So I think,
but that doesn't mean that every
but
person
that's why
in
Maharaj says, Nirmal, Nirmal. There are those that are clean from outside or wearing the bana, and that bana matches the inside as well.
But then Guru Maharaj does say that they're virle, that it's not majority. We're talking about the minority. We are still trying to work our way up there, or wherever it is.
They give this is Satgur ki karni kamani.
Absolutely. I think in this particular situation, with the Amanpreet situation, I think we mentioned a lot about this image that the family have as well, and they probably said it but not explained it. And although they mean well, because parents, we all mean well as parents, but we may not know the way of getting that message across without being too dictative, being like dictators. Now, Maharaj says, Andro jinka moh tutta tinka shabad sache savarya, because we're all here as well to sort ourselves out first.
Definitely.
Then we can set a good example to our children. But until we have that, Amiraya, this is my son, and I've got to show the world how great they are, there becomes a problem. Andro jinka moh is the attachment. Tutta tinka shabad sache savarya. That is the only way we can sort ourselves out. And in respect of the seva that we're doing, the Guru Maharaj talks about seva thori mangan bahta, mahal na pave kehto pota. Now this Shabad is amazing because he talks about how we might end up like that person in the Chola who was doing all these antisocial things. Jopri mane tin ki risa, kure murak ki hatisa. That, we might want to compete with those and look the part, but actually what we're doing, pek dikhave, sach na kamave, kehto meli nikna ave. We wear the religious robes, but we don't practice the truth. Once we start doing that, then what we say, we own. But up until that point, we're not going to get noticed for that. And just a final word on this. Atit sadai maya ka mata, man nahi preet keh mukhrata. He says he's unattached just from the visual. But in fact, he is imbued with maya. Sell the alcohol, sell the cigarettes. I've got to make the money somehow. But look, I believe in compassion for all. I don't want you to ruin your body. I don't want you to ruin your body. But in reality, I'll sell it because I'm making money out of it. So can you see, it becomes a double whammy. It becomes a double edged. Where on one hand we believe this, and on the other hand we're doing this. Manhor mokor. Just final words, because I think we're finishing.
On the note of solutions, what I would say is what we mentioned before, a bit more support from Gurdwara, because there's so many Gurdwara in Birmingham now, but we won't see as much youth programs. If we do if we've got ideas and we want to put them forward, it's quite difficult. There's so many procedures, so many meetings, so many sitting downs of. It's never straightforward, And then what we've seen is cities where there are less Gurdwara, less Sangat. It's easier going there and having youth programs, and there's more happening in those kind of places.
I always say the Sunday Divan
there's so
where
many.
you can not target, but you can have such a mixture. You should have your English Pracharik, you should have your Indian Kathavachik. You should be hitting all your targets.
We need to break away from these routines and,
There was, just a final word, there was a Taddi that came to me, and I was so happy he did that, because he was the last person I'd expect. And he came up and he says, Singh Sahib, we want you and your team or your ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕੀਰਤਨ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਸੁਣਾਉਣ ਇੱਥੇ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਅਸੀਂ ਤਾਂ we've passed it now, we've heard the Taddi, we've heard the Ragi, but we want you on the Sunday here in this Gurdwara to do, even if it's a sentence in English, because those poor people who are here who don't understand the Punjabi, they will take something away. That's all we need. And I think 100% agree that this is the way forward. But we've got to start doing it. In fact, we've got to start doing it in the Langar Hall, talk to those people who are there.
I think it's a two-way process as well. If Gurdwara are able to take this step forward, then as a family unit, it's not about your children lying in bed till 1 o'clock in the afternoon when mom and dad go off to Gurdwara on the Sunday. Equally, mom and dad should not be forcing kids down to the Gurdwara, dropping them off on the doorstep and driving off. Make a conscious effort to make your Gurdwara experience a family one.
Absolutely.
Or if a parent is able to understand something in Punjabi that, say, their child or daughter next to them. My sister is the perfect example. When Ranjit Singh ji came over the summer, I took her to the Diwans with me, and she goes, I can't understand what he's saying. So I was there talking through the whole Diwan, explaining to her. And she said, oh, okay, I get it now. I was getting told off by loads of Bibian because I was talking throughout the whole Diwan. But what I'm saying is that there are so many ways that we can turn a negative into a positive if we're willing to, one, work together as a family, realize where there are issues, where there could be issues. If we nip them in the bud early enough, something that is this small can be prevented from going this
big.
There
are so many things in our life that are so interesting, but we've got to cloak them in Sikhi. We've got to dip them in Sikhi and bring it out and say, look, this is what this is all about. And they will, and everyone will, there'll be an attraction, there'll be a light there, because that's what it's all about. I think time's ran out. Next week we'll be back with some more case studies, and hope you can join us and also share your own opinions and views. If we've made any mistakes, please forgive us. This case scenario today was on clothing, and it was about Amanpreet Kaur, who's 13 years old. And we hope to bring you some more case scenarios again. गलतियां भुल चुक दी खिमा वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह